Right, my name is Abdus Luqman from Coffee, Current Events, and Politics, occasional contributor to Real Progressives, and also, we do a podcast on Spreaker. Out here today, it's a nice fall day out here in Maryland, and my wife and I, we're about to participate in a Native American ceremony called a sweat lodge. We're not allowed to take pictures of it. It's against protocol. We're not allowed to really film it. We're not allowed to film it. We're out here and it's really beautiful out here on a fall day because, well, not quite fall, but, after this heat wave we've been having, it's really nice to be out here where the breeze is really nice. One thing I could say is if you really want to really intensify spiritual experience, and a lot of you people who enjoy the outdoors understand what I'm talking about, you have to get out and connect with nature, connect with the creation. One thing I could say is that I feel closest to the Creator when I'm out when I'm outside, when I'm amongst the trees and I'm amongst nature itself. And I believe that that's our natural element that we're supposed to be in, that we disconnect ourselves from those things through our pursuit of materialism and all the other isms that we occupy ourselves with. But I think that our natural selves love to be connected with creation, because we are creation. We're also creation, and the trees are our brothers and our sisters, and the animals and the birds and everything is our brothers and sisters. And this is a special, this means a lot to me because, I have Native American ancestry myself. And along with exploring my African heritage and culture, it gives me a chance to also explore my Native American culture also. So, but what I wanted to say is, just to get to the point, is that and the video is titled you're not a people without culture. And the reason why I titled that the way that it is because one of the things that really disturbed me, and I'm talking to us as black people, is that as I watched the Native American men put together the sweat lodge, and I'm watching the children with them learning how to build the sweat lodge, I was a little dismayed. And I was dismayed because this is something that has been handed down from generation to generation to generation. And now I'm witnessing another generation learning the skills of building the sweat lodge, and then hopefully they'll pass it on to the next generation. Culture is what defines a people. Culture is what defines you. And what really dismays me is that I don't see a lot of effort put on from us as black people. And I deal specifically with us in this country because this is where I live. I don't see a lot of emphasis placed upon us passing down our culture to our next generation. We have a big event coming up in DC. Maybe some of you heard of it, but if you haven't, on September 24th this month, there will be the opening of the African American Museum in Washington, DC. It's a big deal, and big deal is an understatement. But I listen to Praise 101. I listen to Steve Harvey. I listen to the Radio 1 channels that's all supposed to be black, and you hardly ever hear any mention about this historic event. The first black president, Barack Obama, is going to be the one to open this museum. They're going to have artifacts there that was owned by Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and a whole lot of things, that's directly related to our history. And yet I don't hear Steve Harvey talk about it. I don't hear nobody on Praise 101 talk about it. It's as if our culture is not important to us. And the way I feel is that on September 24th, you know, there should be a mass exodus to DC from all over this country to come down here and witness this opening. And if you can't make it down here, then you should plan to come down here and bring your children, your grandchildren, to come down here and see this. I mean, they have, it's just amazing what they have here. But I want to be more specific. I want to really try to get into what really bothered me. Last Memorial weekend, there was about 70 people shot and killed in Chicago. In DC, every day you're hearing about people being murdered. Just the other day, around the corner from where I live at, there was a security guard doing his job who was shot and killed. And I know what we're saying. Oh, well, you know, this is the hood. This happens everywhere. But see, that's our problem. This is the problem that I have, is the fact that we so easily just accept this as being normal. If we had a culture, and I'm almost on the verge of saying that we don't, but if we had a culture would give life to a people, not death. When we are comfortable, and comfortable just doesn't mean what it means. When I say that if we're comfortable with seeing so many of us murdered and shot and killed, comfortable means basically just not doing anything about it, or not even being concerned about it. Or if you are concerned, it just stays at being concerned. You know, we say our little phrases like, you know, oh my God, oh that's a shame, shake my head, we need to pray, my prayers are with you. You know, we don't need your prayers no more. You know what? If God had a desk in heaven, his incoming box would be filled with our prayers. We don't need no more prayers. Keep your prayers. And if you don't like what I'm saying, I'm sorry, because I don't, you know, keep your prayers. What we need is for all of us to get involved. I mean, can you imagine if another community had 70 people in just one area be shot on a given weekend? Can you imagine the response of this nation, of this government? Here it is. Today is September 11th. And shout out to my daughter Shamir, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Shamir. But today is September 11th. We all know what that means. If you live in this country and around the world, we all know what that means. Right now, as I speak, they're having memorials all over this country, all over the world to celebrate 3,000 people that lost their lives during September 11th. And not countless the millions of people who had to pay the price for the 3,000 people that were killed during the attacks. But 70 people in just one weekend in one city. And the murder rate went up since then. Here we are 2 weeks since then, and here you probably got another 60, 70 people. Can you imagine the response from this government if that had happened to any other community? But they take the attitude we take. Oh, well, that's just, you know, thank God I don't live around that. You know, thank God my kids ain't involved in that. But you know what? The thing of it is the fact that when the kids in Sandy Hook and other communities, when that happened to them, there was a government response to the point of the Congressional Black Caucus wanting to chain themselves. I mean, bringing back the tactics of the 60s, you know, talking about we shall not be moved and all of that stuff. But you got 70 black folks during the Memorial Day weekend that got murdered, and wasn't nobody chaining themselves nowhere. Where was the Congressional Black Caucus? Where was all of these black politicians? Where was Hillary Clinton? I haven't heard her say anything about it. But yet all you Negroes support her. All you Negroes support her because I want a woman president. Oh, it's about time for a female president. But yeah, she ain't say nothing about the 70 blacks or more that's just murdered in one city, not alone DC and everywhere else that we live at, that, you know, we're constantly being shot and killed on a daily basis. You know, so where's your girl at with the hot sauce in her bag? She ain't got nothing to say. You know what I mean? But yet, again, you know, everybody, you know, we're supporting her, and we're supporting people who don't support us. You know, without culture, you're not a people. A culture would when you have culture, your culture would tell your young people that life is sacred. Your culture would demand that those who offend within our communities must be extricated or expelled from our community. Is there not a wonder that in Africa you never had prisons in Africa when a white man came there? There were no African prisons. The Ashanti tribe didn't have a state-of-the-art prison for where they kept people. The Native American people didn't have prisons. The Aboriginal people didn't have prisons. The Polynesians didn't have prisons. You know where you find prisons at? In Europe. The Tower of London and all this other kind of stuff. But they didn't have that. But indigenous people didn't have that. Because when people offended, they knew that it was the responsibility of the community to deal with that person. So without culture, you're not a people. If we had culture, we would also ensure that the institutions that are teaching our children would be top notch. What I'm saying is teach our children in the right way. Here I am listening to the news today, and I can't recall the jurisdiction, but a school district lost like millions of dollars of federal funding for Head Start because of their own negligence. Now, of course, the person that's in charge sounded like a black female to me, said that she was upset about it, said it was shameful. But this is happening all over the country where our children are no one cares about them. I don't care if this is Camden, Philly, Newark, Washington, D.C. Our children are going to schools and are being educated by people who don't care about them, who don't see them having a future. We live in a competitive society where somebody has to be the fodder for this machinery. This is not no conspiracy theory. This is not something that's made out of thin air. Someone has to feed the beast. And we've been feeding the beast since they brought us over here on ships. So now they had decided that our children are going to be the ones that continue to feed this beast, which is the reason why there's no effort to make our schools better, which is the reason why there's no effort to protect the communities our kids and our women live in. And that's another thing. If we had culture, our women and children wouldn't have to be vulnerable as they are, living in the cities living in the areas that they live in, where they are constantly subjected to violence and harassment and not being protected. Because we got men out there who are so damn emotional, your emotional ass men out there who can't even come together. And I'm talking about black men who can't even come together. We're so busy jealous of one another, so busy hating on one another, so busy, we can't cooperate with one another, but yet we want to build this black utopia. Why should we get together and buy land, which we ain't gonna do anyway, we just talk it, but why should we get together and buy land and all this creation, all this talk about Black Wall Street and stuff? Why? So you can hate me from across the street? Talking about we want to support our own and all this other kind of stuff. But yet every time a black business opens up in the neighborhood, it closes because we don't go by there. One quick story. And I remember this particular city I was living in, and it was a friend of mine who opened up a pizza shop, and he invested his money, his time, his talent. That pizza shop was the best looking pizza shop on that block in Newark, New Jersey. Matter of fact, I could say it. And it was a well-traveled area. It was in our area, black folks area, where the bodegas and everything else was going on. And I remember I couldn't understand that this guy had good food. His prices were reasonable, competitive with everybody else. And I was wondering why no one was ever in his store. So a couple of friends of mine, we used to go into that store all the time. And we would sit down and we would try to support him with our little dollars and stuff. And one day I asked him, I said, brother, you have such a nice store, nice restaurant. Where the people at? And he said, brother, let me tell you something. He said, you see that guy up the street with the bodega? He said, yeah. He said, I sit back and watch black folks when they get their money, walk past me, go down and get sandwiches from him. And when you go in his store, he has a fly strip in the back of his deli counter where he makes their sandwiches with flies on it. You don't even know if this guy washes his hands. You don't even know how he stores his food. But here we are down there in a line ready to give our money to him. He said, but the only time they come to me, now listen to what I'm about to say now. The only time they come to me is when they want something free. He said they come knocking on my shop or coming up to the counter talking about, brother, I'm hungry. Can I get a slice of pizza? Brother, could you give me something to eat? I haven't eaten all day. But as soon as the first of the month come, I watch these same Negroes go right past me into the dirty man up there in the bodega. So without culture, you're not a people, because see, culture would have said that you support your own. I live in DC, which was once Chocolate City, ain't Chocolate City anymore, where I had to hear on the radio a black radio host who grew up in DC, fourth generation Washingtonian, who lamented on the radio that he had black folks come from California to visit him, and he could not take them to a black restaurant. Everybody outside of DC has this notion that DC is Chocolate City. When you come here, you should be able to have, you know, whatever you want black, you should be able to get it. He could not take them to a real fancy black restaurant in DC because they don't exist anymore. So without culture, you're not a people, because a culture determines that, you know, that you support your own businesses, that you build your own businesses. That don't mean anybody else can't make no money, but you support your own first. Every religious text tells you that charity begins at home. But see, we so busy looking at each other as the enemy while everybody else is prospering, everybody else is making money, everybody else is sending their kids to college. And you know what? All that stuff about, you know, I don't shop at black businesses because they don't treat me right. When the last time you got treated right at a Chinese restaurant when you have to stand on the other side of 3 inches of bulletproof glass because they don't trust you? Or you go into 7-Eleven and you go up there and all the machines always tell you that there's no cash back. Or you go to CVS and you're in a bind and you want to get MoneyGram, but the MoneyGram machine's always broken. You can't go anywhere, man, where the services. You go to Giant or you go to any supermarket, and when the stores are crowded and everything, you got lines, man, lined up, man, like you in a refugee line. You got the manager don't think that you're important enough or special enough as a customer to open up extra lines just to serve you better because you're a customer. But you go to other communities and you don't see the same hassles that they don't have to go through the same hassles that we go through. But we won't even open up our own grocery stores. We won't open up anything. You know why? Because we have gotten accustomed to being mistreated. And so that we got accustomed to being mistreated, we mistreat each other. Without culture, you're not a people. Culture would demand that before a woman gets with any man, that man would be worthy of her getting with. That she realized that she is the vessel from which his legacy would spring forth. So in order to have a viable legacy that's going to lead the people forward, then she knows that whoever that she cohabitates with has to be someone that's worthy of the legacy. Not because, you know, oh my God, I like his tattoos, or oh my God, look at how his hair is, or, you know, I like the way he sag, or, you know, whatever dumb stuff y'all use to as a criteria for getting with each other, or her booty's fat, or all this other kind of stuff. She ain't got nothing on the brain, but Lord knows she got a big butt though, right? Without culture, you're not a people. Because a culture would demands that the woman is going to be the one that's teaching your child. She's your first teacher. She's your child's first teacher. And she ain't got nothing on the mind. She damn sure can't teach your kid nothing. Without a culture, you're not a people. You know, we got to wise up, man, because, you know, we've been told time and time again from people like Dr. Anderson, Claude Anderson, and Eddie Glaude, and the information's out there, man, that unless we stop this nonsense of wanting to be entertained all the time, of wanting to be distracted all the time, unless we stop this nonsense and start competing in this competitive society, man, forget about Trump. I mean, you know, and that's another thing. People keep on talking about, oh man, you know, we vote for Hillary because if Trump gets in there, well, hell, man, black people are already at the bottom. So what Trump going to do? Break through the bedrock and put us down through there? I don't give a damn who's in office. Most of the places that we live in has been ran by Democrats, and we ain't seen no change in those areas. You go to Baltimore, you go to Chicago, where all the killing is taking place. You go to Camden, you go to all these places, democratically ran. But has our condition changed? No. We got to stop relying on these lying, thieving ass politicians and start realizing that it's culture that's going to protect us. It's not the Congressional Black Caucus. It's not the first black president. It ain't the first female president. Ain't gonna be no politician that's gonna ensure that your children have a future in this land unless you and I do it. Without culture, you're not a people. You know, so, you know, I don't want to belabor it because I know a lot of you Negroes ain't got a long attention span, you know, especially when we start talking about our issues, you know. But, man, we got to get our act together, man. I mean, aren't our children worth it? My grandchild right now is having her christening today. You churches out there, man, stop selling that pie in the sky stuff, man, and start teaching our people how to make a life down here. You know, let God handle his business, but teach our people how to handle theirs. Me and my wife then rode past all of these churches open today on our way over to the Sweat Lodge. And you got folks going in and out, nice cars all in the parking lots and stuff like that. Yet, man, at the same time, man, where's this money going? God don't need the money. Start teaching our people, man, how, you know, some of these mega churches out here, some of these churches, yeah, I'm picking on you because we don't even have a supermarket that's black owned, black ran. We don't even have that. But some of you churches, man, y'all got all this property. But instead of building a supermarket on your land, no, you want an additional addition to your sanctuary. So you can get more folks in there to give you more dollars. Then you want to talk about this building fund that's been going on for 30 years and the building never got built. But yet you could take that same money, man, and build a supermarket that employs some of our people, man, where we can treat each other with respect. So, man, you know, let God take care of his business, man, and teach our folks how to take care of business down here. Invest in housing, invest in some schools, man. You know, nobody's going to do it for us. Right now, man, we talked about how it's going to take 228 years, and this is another video that I'm going to do later on, but 228 years to close the wealth gap between white and black wealth gap. 228 years. It would take Hispanics 82 years to close the wealth gap they have with whites. But yet they got us thinking, man, that we in the state that we in, man, all because, you know, we just ain't pull our bootstrap up. But what they don't tell you is their bootstrap was government issue. That it was through the GI Bill. Like I said, I don't want to get into it a lot, but it was through the GI Bill, which some people state was a fast track for white folks to get into the middle class. Home ownership. Whites wasn't owning homes like that before the GI Bill. Suburbs were built after the GI Bill because they was giving out these loans and stuff, interest-free loans and stuff to GIs that were coming home. But the black GIs couldn't get it. College loans and all this stuff that helped create a middle class in this country. All the blacks that were laid off when the white soldiers came home and filled those factory jobs. Blacks were told you're not needed anymore. And they're telling us that today. You're not needed anymore. You go through any city, go on any road crew, go on any construction crew and see how many black people working on them crews. You're not needed. But instead of us putting a plan together, nah, we're sitting at each other, eyeing each other like we're the enemy. You got a spear in your hand, I got a spear in my hand. We ready to, you know, hit each other. Yeah, we don't realize where that hatred comes from. Didn't come from us. Without culture, you're not a people. So, I don't want to belabor the issue. The only thing I'm saying is that unless we put a plan of action together, then you know, the only thing we're going to have left is a museum. Because with all of the murdering that is going on, and let me make something clear, because my wife brought this to my attention, and it's true. Let's not believe the hype. Public Enemy told us about that. You know, the murder amongst us is bad. Murder is bad, period. But the rate at which we're dying at the hands of gun violence is horrendous. But don't believe the hype. The crime in the black community, crime overall, has been going down. So don't believe the hype that, oh, what are you going to do about black on black crime before you start talking about police brutality? Or what are you going to do about this? But look, we can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And there are folks out there addressing this issue. But the problem is not that people aren't addressing the issue. The problem is they don't get no support, nor do they get any attention. So the news media ignores that because, I mean, nothing drives ratings like a bunch of niggas killing each other in their minds. But then when we come together and we try to heal our neighborhoods and try to heal ourselves, then the news cameras was like, oh, nah, we don't want to see that. It's the same way they did with our music when we was trying to speak life into each other through our music. Then all of a sudden they was like, oh, and we started to get conscious. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, no, we got to stop that. We're those niggas with attitudes. You know, yeah, let's bring them on. Forget Public Enemy. You know, let's bring them on. KRS-One, let's bring them on. Let's teach the kids that all of this education stuff is for the birds, and that's corny. And and let's bring this unintelligible rapper up here, like some dumbass song I heard yesterday on the radio. Some guy talking about what the hell is that, man? Of a tradition of great black music, we come to that. Ain't no wonder, man, half of y'all stupid listening to some kind of crap like that. It's dumb. So anyway, I'm just saying, without culture, it's a people. Without culture, we're not a people. You know, we can't allow anybody to define who we are. We have to define ourselves. Let's get back to defining ourselves and speaking life into each other. You know, smile, Negroes. You know what I mean? Like Dick Gregory said one time, we walking around all mad like that's going to change something. Ain't nobody scared of us. Because, you know, because we look at the condition that we in. Ain't nobody scared of us. Man, you got white folks, man, that's living in my community right now, walking around, man, with their heads up high. They ain't worrying about you Negroes doing anything to them. Because you know why? Because they know that y'all know you ain't going to do nothing to them. See, they walk around knowing they protected. You know? So, you know, all this mean stuff and, you know, everybody could fight it. Everybody could do this. Y'all ain't going to do nothing. But what we can do is get back and get a plan together and say, look, how are we going to make our schools better? How are we going to make our neighborhoods better? Let's watch each other back. We can start with the small stuff. You know, go outside and speak to your neighbor. Get to know your neighbor. You know what I mean? If they got some trash in front of their house and they're elderly, man, clean up the trash. You know, why don't a couple of people on the block get together and say, we just going to keep our block clean? You know, sit on the step with each other. Don't allow the criminal element to make you a prisoner of your own home. Sit out on the step. Make your presence known. You know, get back there, man, share food with each other. These are things that we could do right now to build the bonds that we have with each other. Stop talking all this stuff about, nah, I don't be messing with nobody because, you know, I be to me and myself and that. You know what? That's mental illness. Because as human beings, we're social creatures and we need one another. So when you start talking that stuff about, nah, I don't be messing with nobody, this and that, you're a liar because you can't get through the day without communicating with somebody. You can't get through the day without dealing with people. Even in prison, they got to deal with people, even if it's with other prisoners. So stop all this nonsense thinking this stuff makes you unique or somehow this makes you tough. No, you know what it shows is signs of mental illness is what it shows. You don't mess with nobody. Probably you ain't worth being messed with. That's probably what it is. But look, I'm going to come at you again and again and again and again because unless we change this thing and change the tide around, we ain't going to make it. You know, and don't think it can't happen, man. There's groups of people who have been here before that don't exist anymore. But the difference between them and us is that it was an outside force that wiped them out. I think we might be the first ones to wipe to make ourselves distinct from within. So I'll leave you with that. And you know, look, give me your comments. You know, bring it on, man. I welcome them, and I will answer every one of them. So bring your comments, you know, whatever you got to say. But most of all, man, let's go in the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood and start to heal, man, because that's what we need. We're just a bunch of hurt people, man. And until we recognize that we're hurt people and that we need to heal, then nothing's going to get done. You know, so this is your boy, Abdus Luqman, also known as Abstract Thought. I hope you got something out of this, man. And I'll be coming at you a little later on. Peace.